guys, my name's Anthony and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know that I love the Lumix S5ii. But recently I picked up the Sony ZV-E1 and this is what I've been using for most of my client work. And there's one specific reason, and that is its autofocus is the best. And I can't have my cameras messing up when a client is paying me a good amount of money to make videos. Lumix did come out with a pretty large firmware update, and that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I feel like I got a completely brand new camera. That may sound like an exaggeration, but autofocus was a huge Achilles heel of this camera. And I'm not gonna say everything's been fixed, which we'll go on later in the video, but most of it has been nailed down. And I probably won't use this camera as much for client work. I still will, because uncropped 4K 60, if I ever do need 4K 120, which is never. But now the Lumix S5ii has become a no-brainer to recommend for anybody that wants a sub $2,000 camera. I'm gonna give you an honest opinion about the autofocus because it's still not perfect. And I even talked to Sean at Lumix when I was at NAB, and there are certain things I just don't agree with. Sorry, Sean, but I just don't agree with the philosophy that Lumix has, and I'll share a little bit about that. Maybe they'll see it and actually add the things that most filmmakers want. And then I'll give you some real world tests of the IBIS and autofocus and talk about the proxies and how they are so useful and will save me time and money and hopefully do the same for you. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it and go straight into the autofocus. It has been improved a ton. I don't really care about the car stuff, the pet stuff, the animal, whatever. That's just not my thing. I'm not a hobbyist. I don't just shoot animals or do it for money or cars. I just don't do that kind of stuff. So it's not really that important to me. What is important is how accurate and sticky this autofocus is. And I'm not even using the autofocus on its stickiest setting. It just actually sticks on my face and doesn't change to my hands. I'm Hispanic, not Italian, but still I use my hands all the time. And this is crazy. So it might not seem crazy if you shoot with Sony or Canon, but for Lumix, even for the S5ii, it would have grabbed my hand a long time ago. I could even go across my face and it still sticks on my face. That's not normal for Lumix. Even with the new phase detect autofocus, well, it did just grab my hand. So it's not perfect, but it is so much better because I have countless examples of the autofocus on client work, which is super frustrating. It grabbing hands, literally just talking like this. So the autofocus has improved a ton. You're gonna see on the screen right now of my son at the beach and him just being cute and just a couple other examples of the autofocus being really sticky. One thing with the autofocus that's a little polarizing that I did talk to Sean at NAB about is the touch tracking that Sony has, where I can just touch the screen at any point and it'll grab a subject and just stick to it. So I'm not really relying on the camera to choose what to autofocus on. Right now, I am. For client work, I still have to rely on the camera to choose what to autofocus on because I can't just touch the screen. And the touch tracking in the camera that Lumix integrated is just unusable. It's even with the update, it just still doesn't work well. That's a little frustrating. And when I brought up that filmmakers want the most control when it comes to autofocus because they're not having control with manual focus, the response from the Lumix team was a little frustrating. They said that some people don't want a ton of control. And honestly, I don't know any filmmaker that is making money off their camera and getting paid to do what they're doing that doesn't want the most amount of control when they're using autofocus. So that touch tracking feature hasn't been added. I wish it was, but I am happy that I can rely on this autofocus more so because, as you know on this channel, I do talk about the quirks with the S5ii a lot. I don't just sing this camera's praises just because, I don't know, hype or something. I do talk about the things that need to be fixed. So The autofocus is fixed for the most part, but the touch tracking has not been added, and I do still want that, and I think the community at large wants usable touch tracking within their cameras in every single mode, not have to have their own touch tracking mode. So please, Lumix, now I know you watch these videos, please add touch tracking. I love you guys. You make the best cameras. Truly the best bang for buck cameras out there. That's the only reason why I'm still using them, because I would have jump shipped quickly. I don't have brand loyalty to anybody. But on to the IBIS, which is just actually nuts. This is one of the features I'm most excited about that I did not think I wanted. But after watching Dustin Armstrong's video, he's a Lumix ambassador. I met him at NAB, super cool dude. He was running at NAB with this like enhanced IBIS on, and it was just crazy. It looked like a gimbal. And after actually using it, and even though it crops 1.4 times, I see it as incredibly useful, and I'm gonna use it a lot. So this is a real world reaction. It is actually nuts. This IBIS is incredible. I'm not using it right now because it crops in too much, and I'm using my phone as a microphone, but it is actually unreal filming all of this footage and like basically being on a gimbal. It's like so crazy. I feel like a dork vlogging on the beach. I just don't do that stuff, but yeah, it's nuts. It's really, really, really good. When I need stable footage, I don't want to put my camera on a gimbal. The S5ii was already so good at stabilizing footage in camera, but this is just on an entirely different level. This new electronic image stabilization is actually a game changer, as annoying as that word is, and YouTubers and all that stuff. I have the ZV-1 and it has enhanced image stabilization in it, and it was just so useful for me and better than the Lumix S5ii IBIS. But after using the new image stabilization in the S5ii, it completely blows the enhanced IS in the ZV-1, and that was already so useful. I can literally not use a gimbal and get certain gimbal shots just by cropping in 1.4 times. I really don't know what else to say. Lumix, congratulations. You did a great job on this firmware update. I also saw a different video talking about how it almost gets rid of that rolling shutter effect. So I don't know if it's gyro data in the camera. I have no idea what's going on. But after testing it myself, it does look like that jello effect is completely gone. So that is another plus. I can't scientifically prove that. I can just show you examples on the screen right now. But I don't know. This camera is just way more useful now after this firmware update. And now for the last feature I want to talk about that I didn't think I was going to need until about a week ago is the proxies and the Frame.io that you can now integrate within the camera. I don't know exactly how that cloud feature works. I've watched some videos, but I'm definitely gonna figure it out because it does save me time, which equals money. If I'm traveling, I can't really use hotel Wi-Fi, all these other complications. It literally just happened to me last week. I was at NAB and I got contracted to shoot a booth while I was there, and my hotel Wi-Fi was crap. Everything was just a mess. And if I would have had this feature, I wouldn't have had to worry about it. That was a specific use case, but here's how my normal production looks like. I shoot it, I come home, and I have to create proxies, which take about 15 to 20 minutes, even on my crazy loaded computer. And then I have to organize those proxies, have separate folders, make sure everything is clean so I'm not getting confused, send that off to an editor. And then after finishing that tedious process that really doesn't seem like a lot of time, we're looking at an hour, hour and a half after a long shoot just to get it sent off to an editor, create those proxies and do all of that. If I'm adding up that time for every single shoot I have, this new update probably saves me, I don't know, 10, 15 hours a month, which adds up. If you're looking at a year, you're looking at 100 plus hours. So having these proxies in camera, or even that Frame.io function when you actually integrate it, saves a buttload of time, which does mean money. And honestly, when I'm tired after a shoot, I don't want to have to deal with creating proxies and sending them off to an editor, and I'm just exhausted already. I don't want to do that stuff. So right now I'm super excited about this feature because of where I'm at in my production company and having to send off tons of footage to different editors. Real quick before I wrap up this video, I have some videos I'm personally really excited about, like this camera here I have in my hands. It's the Ricoh GR3X. It's a Fuji X100V killer, 100%. It's smaller. It's quickly turned into one of my favorite cameras. It's even become my wife's favorite cameras, and she doesn't even like taking photos or doing any of that stuff. It stresses her out. And I have some videos coming up about some new lights. This is the Pavo Slim 240C, and I have the 60CL that are pretty different than anything that's on the market. I'm a huge fan of flex matte lights, and this light solves a huge problem for me that I have with flex matte lights. So tons of different videos in the works. So if you are interested in any of those, consider subscribing, like this video because it does help the algorithm push it out to other people so they can watch it, and it's encouraging for me. My final thoughts on the Lumix update is that it's amazing. It's really cool. It does feel like I have a brand new camera, and it's another reason that I'm just not gonna sell this camera, even though there are tons of options that are seemingly better. The S5ii is just the best bang for buck in my opinion. The image quality is the best for a mirrorless camera, and the IBIS is just, now it's leagues above everything else. So that's everything I have to say about this update. I appreciate each and every one of you that watch these videos and comment, share your thoughts with them. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask me. I didn't go over too much in this video because I just don't script anything, but I do get tons of questions on how I achieve the look in my videos, and that is a huge thanks to Phantom LUTs. I do other things with the color grading portion, but Phantom LUTs get me 90% of the way there. They are linked down below. That is it for this video though, and I will see you guys in the next one.